Is that all right?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, we're rolling.
All right, if you guys are rolling, is that okay?
Yep.
All right, Progress Energy told us the other day that nuclear power is one of the cheapest forms of power they can produce. Clean, they say, and safe. What do you think?
You know, I've got a problem with clean. I've got a problem with safe. There's many other alternatives that we can turn to in Florida, and Florida's really way behind the what the other states are doing with regard to alternative energy, renewable energy.
Well, as we saw with the Gulf oil disaster, that technology isn't exactly safe or clean either. So what do we do?
Well, there's solar, there's wind, there's biodiesel, there's conservation and efficiency, and Florida's done precious little with any of that, and especially compared to some of the other states. The other states are really beating us with regard to producing domestic forms of energy within their states, and they're doing that and getting their economies going. And I think Florida should be following suit instead of going down the path of something that's too big to fail. We've got one of Florida's largest cities 100 miles from Crystal River, and if that plant fails, which it essentially has, and they're trying to figure out whether they can get this back up, that would be a disaster that would make the disaster in Japan just, you know, pale in comparison. And I just think we've got to be looking at those kinds of things.
I suppose that was one of the primary reasons that Progress Energy allowed us into the plant for the first time since September 11, 2001, allowing media in because they wanted to tell us that their plant has a different design than Fukushima, that it's safer than Fukushima, certainly safer than Chernobyl, and they've learned a lot since 3 Mile Island. They believe that they can produce nuclear energy safely. What do you think?
Well, you know, I think that we've had Chernobyl, we've had Fukushima. Everyone goes and they go on and say that we do it safer and safer, but there are problems with how we do nuclear energy with regard to the storage of it, with regard to each of the systems that we have developed. Nothing is fail-safe. And you know, when looking back in history at the Titanic, I mean, everybody thought that was fail-safe too. Everybody thought Fukushima was fail-safe. And so what we've got to look at is the risk versus what the benefit is. Nuclear power plants are very expensive to build. It takes a long time to build. People then have to pay ahead. There's nuclear cost recovery, so people are paying for a nuclear power plant for sometimes 10 and 12 years before the thing ever gets built. And that is something that I think Floridians shouldn't be burdened with. And for something that isn't safe, has its risks, and we've got alternatives that are perfectly safe and that are really good alternatives for our economy that actually put people back to work. You know, conservation methods, efficiency methods, and then solar, wind, biodiesel. These are all things that Florida has at its fingertips that we have not yet developed that could actually develop our economy. Also be better for national security, because when I was talking to you know, some national security experts, they said the larger the plant that you've got, the more it has taken on with regard to the number of customers. Nothing's fail-safe, and terrorists can get into these larger plants, and distributed energy is really the safer, better thing for national security. It's also better for the economy. So I suggest that Florida goes down the road of looking at alternative energy, renewable energy, conservation, efficiency, and then if we absolutely need to, then turn to nuclear energy. But we've done nothing with renewable energy, and it's a real shame because that would put Floridians back to work. It's safer, and it's better for national security.
In terms of the storage issue, they have all of the spent fuel that they have utilized at the plant since 1977 when it first came online, and it's stored in one storage pool. They're going to be moving it soon to concrete storage facilities and utilize air cooling methods for spent fuel that is older than 5 years. What are your concerns about that as well?
Well, it's interesting that you say 1977 because that's actually when I get interested in this issue. I was 17 years old, and people said to me when I was at that age, you know, we'll find a way to figure out how to store this fuel. And then we have the Yucca Mountain site, and then we do have some recycling efforts that are underway, but it only recycles part of what we store. I'm very concerned about the storage. Nuclear waste lasts for thousands of years, and you know, we don't know whether those concrete containers are fail-safe. Also, you can have a natural disaster like a earthquake or whatever, and I think we need to be very careful about the kind of hubris that we can have as human beings and say that things can't fail. Yes, they can, and we need to be aware of that. And Fukushima, Chernobyl, the Titanic, all these kinds of things that we have in history to report to and to look back on, and a lot of these things are directly related to nuclear power. We need to be aware of and be cognizant of and look forward and do better as we make energy choices. And there's nothing unsafe about solar. There's nothing unsafe about wind. There's nothing unsafe about conservation and efficiency. And in my way of thinking, the conservative move forward that Florida can take for its energy needs, and frankly the whole United States, is to look at renewable energy, conservation, and efficiency for national security, for the environmental concerns, and for our economic development, for jobs.